Hey everyone, I've got some exciting news. We're unlocking Southpaw Deep Space Nine Season 2 and making it available for everyone on our public feed. But if you love our work and want to be the first to listen to Season 3 as it's being released, head over to Patreon. There you'll find break-free versions of past SDS9 episodes, Southpaw and Fight Study, and our other bonus show, Fighter's Brew. You'll also find our Liberation Martial Arts program, which is exclusive to our supporters. It's for beginner and advanced martial artists, as well as people just looking for fitness and rehabilitation. It's a gentle, wholesome, and embodied approach to training. Lots of individuals, trainers, families, friends, collectives, activists, and organizations are already using it. So if you want to support our work and get early access to all our great content, including Season 3 of SDS9, go to patreon.com/southpawpod and join our community. You can also go to southpawpod.com and find the links there or on our show notes. Thanks for listening and catch you soon. This is Southpaw Deep Space Nine, Season 2, where we analyze Deep Space Nine and Star Trek from a political and historical lens, episode by episode. I'm watching DS9 with fresh eyes, and Scott is our veteran Trek fan. We are discussing Season 2 of DS9, Episode 23, Crossover. Scott, tell us about this episode.
I'd love to. Bashir and Kira are coming home from a mission. On the runabout, Kira says that she wants to go meditate, and then Bashir sort of brags about how he learned rhythmic breathing from this rhythm breathing expert and tries to show off and do rhythmic breathing and plays some Bajoran music and is like, oh, I know all about Bajoran music, and kind of flirt, but then is like, I'm not flirting, but whatever. But Kira's not really feeling it. As they go through the wormhole, there's a strange warp. The field doesn't collapse correctly, and they come through, and the Deep Space Nine is orbiting Bajor, which it stopped doing after the occupation, the Cardassian occupation. And they are taken on board, and there's Garrick dressed in full Cardassian regalia with some Klingons, and they capture them. And they recognize Kira. They call her ma'am, but then another Kira shows up dressed up differently in all black with a tiara. Uh-oh. So where they are is Deep Space Nine, but it's still called Terek Nor. And there's an alternate Kira who is like, I think I know who you guys are. And they call Bashir Terran, and they put him to work. And Kira is called the Intendant. And throughout the Terek Nor, there's this flag with like the Klingon and the Cardassian symbols. And when Bashir is taken to work, all the Terrans are named like they have numbers. There's like 5, 6, 7, 8, 2 Theta. And Odo is the constable here. And he has rules of obedience. He's like super evil cop. And as this is happening, you see doppelganger of O'Brien looking at them. In the other Kira's office, they start talking, and the other Kira asks if she has heard of the Alliance or if she has heard of Captain Kirk. So the Alliance exists in this other world. She talks about how Kirk visited this universe, which if you've ever watched the original series, just see the episode Mirror, Mirror. So this is called the Mirror Universe. So I will refer to these characters as Mirror X for the rest of this synopsis. So after what happens in that episode, Mirror Spock, who many know as Spock with a goatee, tried to change the universe, and they were part of the Terran Empire. So the Terran Empire, which once occupied Bajor, decided to become an agent of change and peace. And as that was happening, the Alliance, which was mostly the Cardassians and Klingons and later Bajorans, they took over. And they created a protocol for if mirror people were to come to this universe where they're supposed to kill mirrors. But our mirror Kira doesn't want to. They have sort of like a tete-a-tete, and they're talking to each other, and mirror Kira notes that Kira is trying to manipulate her to let them go. But Kira's like, only you could help me understand how to make a strong Bajor. And Kira comes to visit the ore mines, and Bashir actually knows about the mirror universe, knows about Kirk, and they think that Mirror O'Brien might know how to get them back to their universe. And in the mirror world, Quark still has a bar, but Mirror Quark also is fond of Kira. And Kira's like, oh, well, in the other universe, we're really close and we're friends, and maybe you can help us look for a transporter. And Mirror Quark is like, how do we get to the other side? Mirror Quark it turns out the Mirror Quark has been helping Terrans escape. This Quark is different than our Quark and was not happy seeing people suffer, and he's arrested. And then Mirror Cisco shows up and starts giving drinks to people. He is not arrested. We don't know what's going on there, but he is very different than the Cisco we know. So when Bashir talks to Mirror O'Brien, who's happy to find out that the other O'Brien is a good man with a good life and family, and both O'Briens are very good with electrical engineering. Bashir tries to bank their friendship to help them get home, but Mirror O'Brien is very dubious of all of this. And Mirror Cisco and his peeps, they're able to do their own thing, and they collect from other ships, and they're allowed relative freedom. It's sort of suggested that there might be an inappropriate relationship between Mirror Kira and Mirror Cisco. He's not very nice, this version of Cisco. He calls O'Brien Smiley. Kira goes to visit Mirror Kira in her quarters, where she's getting bathed by some Vulcans, and Major Mirror Cisco is on the couch. And Mirror Kira really wants Kira to love her. She greatly needs love. And Mirror Garrick brings in Mirror Quark, who has confessed to helping Terrans escape. And Mirror Kira sends Mirror Quark to death. And later, Mirror Garrick comes to see Kira, who says Mirror Kira is in love with her. And Mirror Garrick wants Kira to betray Mirror Kira by pretending to be her after they get rid of the intendant, so Mirror Garrick can actually be the intendant. And they promise that Bashir will be safe, but Bashir is going to get killed if the plan doesn't go according. So Kira goes to find Bashir and it's like, we need to leave as soon as possible. Be ready. Kira goes to meet Mirror Cisco, and she's like, she has info. She wants the runabout. She tells Mirror Cisco that Garrick is planning to kill Mirror Kira, and Mirror Cisco doesn't seem interested, and he says that Mirror Garrick is always trying to do this, and why would he succeed now? And Kira is visibly and audibly bothered, disgusted by Mirror Cisco and his ambivalence about humanity and his flippancy and his wanton disregard of others, and that Mirror Cisco is selfish. Kira points out that even though he is free, he's also a prisoner. At Quark's, there's a party where Kira and Mirror Kira are dressed in the same purple dress. And down where the ore is getting mined, there's a machine malfunction. And the Terrans escape, and Bashir blasts Odo, possibly kills him, and goes to find Mirror O'Brien and asks him for help. And Mirror O'Brien's like, cool, can I come back with you? Because it's really shitty here. And Bashir agrees. though, as this happens, they're caught trying to escape. And then Mirror Kira has a really nasty monologue where her phobia becomes even worse. And she decides that Bashir and Mirror O'Brien are going to be put out in public to die slowly. And she asks Mirror O'Brien why all of a sudden he stopped being obedient. And he explains that he helped Bashir because Bashir gave him hope, and thinking that there was a possible world where things weren't so bad made him want to see the possibility of that. And then Mirror Cisco decides to help Kira at the last minute, and they decide to be heroes. And they get them out of Quarks. And they decide that they're going to escape and go be good guys. Mirror Cisco has had a change of heart, and Mirror O'Brien asks if they can come on, and Mirror Cisco's like, come on board, smiley. And Bashir and Kira escape. They come back to the regular universe. No goatees.
Just a general rule. If you're in an org or at school or at work, don't act like Bashir in the cold opener or most of Bashir's cold openers. So we start with finding out that due to the actions of James Kirk, humans are enslaved in the mirror universe. Kirk's actions are not aging so well. Neither is the actor.
I'm not going to be a hipster and be like, I always was not impressed with Captain Kirk, but I've never been a big Kirk fan, and not big Shatner fan, so I've never been that surprised by his heel turn this year when he was like, Roddenberry would have hated the politicalness. Just like, you dick. Star Trek has always been political.
Now, when we learn of the alliance in this mirror universe, my wife was like, oh, it's like NATO. My only other note is when Bashir kills someone, the Odo doppelganger, he feels no remorse, which again confirms they really don't treat clones or doppelgangers or shapeshifters very well. This is also a different Bashir than the one who was talking about his oath as a doctor in the previous episode, The Wire. But this isn't the first time they were willing to kill Odo, the last of his kind. So, is this coldness and selfishness incongruent with Bashir? No, not this far in his character arc. We also see him risking the O'Brien doppelganger's life so he can escape. We're again seeing the O'Brien clone mistreated, much like how the real O'Brien is the punching bag on DS9. What did you think, Scott?
Mirror Universe episodes are episodes I really like, because even though I felt that some of the characters, they didn't apply the rule of the Mirror Universe, that the Mirror Universe has the opposite of the characters, and that this universe is an intrinsically selfish universe. So the acting, the portrayal of Mirror Cisco and Mirror Kira was like chef's kiss. I mean, Avery Brooks was just acting his ass off as like this miscreant version of Cisco that I loved. And again, I was a little disappointed, that they made the counterpart O'Brien so similar to regular O'Brien. I feel like this character feels like if our O'Brien was oppressed and forced to work like that and not given the opportunities that our O'Brien had, I don't think he'd be that different. And also Odo was just a worse version of Odo. But it was cool to see like a Quark that cares about people. And yeah, I like mirror episodes. I think the mirror universe is a really interesting plot motif that is used in most Star Trek shows and is delicious. Even though it's probably just like a 3 out of 5 non-mythology episode. I enjoy when shows are referential to the things that they came from, even if I don't love the reference. Because I said I'm not the biggest original series fan, but yeah, I just thought, Nana Visitor's performance as Mirror Kira was just so good.
Something I forgot to mention was the sexual tension between Mirror Kira and Kira, which is an interesting parallel because Bashir in the cold opener was also trying to make sexual advances at Kira. And it's almost like a thought experiment. What happens if you're in love with your clone or an alternate version of yourself? Is that selfishness? What type of sexuality is that? It opens up a whole can of worms, which they didn't get into too much, but it does fit in with the idea of selfishness. You could even say Bashir felt at home in the mirror universe because he's also a selfish person and only became more selfish in this universe, so much so that he was willing to use anybody or kill people for his own gains.
Yeah, this idea that the two Kiras were in love with each other and they had the tension. And I think that's something that they don't explore a lot this early, like Kira's, romantic identity, which they've sort of started to unpack in this season, but they don't go into. So it's very interesting to see how this shows itself in this other Kira. But again, they didn't feel like total opposites. They just felt like sort of different.
Yeah, they even talked about how similar each other were and how they know how the other thinks.
Yeah, and there were no goatees.
Now, Scott, can you tell us about the next episode?
Yes, I'd love to. The next episode is called The Collaborator. As a new election for Kai is on the horizon in Bajor, Vedic Baral may be up to something.
Until then,